Well, Cody, the defections continue here as expected. It's just the state of college football now, and honestly, maybe the state of a healthy program is you're going to have some players kind of cycle in and out via the transfer portal, and before the portal opens, I guess 2 days after Texas faces Michigan in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. We're going to have to deal with the attrition here on the Texas side. No super huge names yet, but let's go over some of the guys that have left ever since we were last on the show yesterday and talk about what I find concerning, and I know the coaching staff finds concerning, but it's the offensive line. We need to talk about the offensive line and what's happening here. First, let's talk about the Man Eye Institute. See life better at the Man Eye Institute. 1-844-WOW 2020. 844-WOW 2020. The Man Eye Institute, LASIK, glasses, contacts. If you have cataracts, astigmatism, anything having to do with your eyes, they can help you out at the Man Eye Institute. We're very lucky to have them. We're very lucky to have them as our presenting sponsor here on Orange Bloods Live, the Man Eye Institute. See life better. All right, Cody. So just to catch everybody up, yesterday, after the show went off the air, Ricky Stewart, the running back, is now in the portal. We have today. It was Connor Stroh got in the portal. It was Santana Wilson, the cornerback, got in the portal. And then Aaron Butler, the wide receiver, got in the portal. That's in addition to who even was yesterday. I've already forgot. It's Melvin Hills.
Trey Owens and CJ Baxter.
Trey Owens, CJ Baxter. And also, as you mentioned here in our chat, the director of scouting, Aaron Joe, that had just come over from Georgia Tech as their GM, takes the job as the GM at UNT. Kind of a circuitous route he took.
With Neil Brown was kind of the theory there. He went with Neil Brown, who was at West Virginia last year and then was the assistant head coach under Sark this year. I mean, it was a hot topic on Orange Bloods this morning. I'll say that. It's kind of an interesting time of year to leave.
Yeah, you put up a little note about that. It's like would probably be one of your most read things of the whole, one of your most clicked on things of the whole week, dude. People wanted to talk about this. I thought it was. I didn't know people cared that much about.
I didn't either. I didn't pin the thing. I didn't pin it, and then I think Catch pinned it, and I was like, I thought it was just kind of like a Friday afternoon news dump, but like a Tuesday early morning. Or actually it was a Monday night late dump. And it got hot on the board because like, if you look at Aaron Joe, the director of scouting this past year, they brought him in, like you said, from Georgia Tech, was the GM there, Power 4 GM, takes a half step back to come to Texas and to be the director of scouting. The theory there would be you would take a step back, viewed as a half step back so that you could take 2 steps forward, right? And go to maybe a bigger school, maybe I don't know, like USC opens or whatever. Yeah. Opens something bigger than Georgia Tech opens, which Georgia Tech has money. So it was kind of an interesting thought process. Anyways, he was director of player personnel, assistant director of player personnel at Bama, director of recruiting at UConn. He's been almost everywhere for like 1 year at a time, except for Georgia Tech, where he played right tackle. And now he leaves literally like in the middle of, retention season, the middle of portal scouting season. I would say similar to NFL, you probably could have a thought on this too, but similar to NFL, you don't start scouting guys for the portal in December 8th. You start scouting guys for the portal during the season. You have a scouting team that's, watching games and saying, oh, this guy looks like, an opportunity might come open. We'll have to scout him. We'll have him on our board. So it's an interesting thing to me to see this and be like, so the director of scouting is leaving 3 weeks before the portal opens. So either his work's done or he didn't do the job right, or he did a good job and he just decided to leave. It's confusing. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah. So anyway, that happened. But dude, with the Connor Stroh stuff, as I'm starting to put together the offensive depth chart projection, the pre-portal offensive depth chart projection, just in order to see what Texas is going to need to be focusing on. As I'm doing the offensive line, Cody, it's like, we all know that they're going to be focusing on them. Even Sark has said it. I asked Sark at his availability last week for National Signing Day whether they're going to address the offensive line with the same aggressiveness that they addressed the defensive line last year. And his answer to me was that, look, last year we just needed more bodies. We needed to go out and just, that's why we went out. We got 5 of these guys. We needed more bodies, and I understood that, right? I mean, that's what I thought at the time too. It became beyond obvious. Um, Even more so through the spring period, where afterwards was it after spring that they got Murad Watson and Levon Johnson?
It was the spring period, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot what the order of how those guys came on board, but you would have taken Murad Watson even if you didn't, if he became available and you didn't have a huge need at defensive line, you would want to go out and take that guy, because freshman All-American defensive linemen don't just show up in the portal every day. But they did need him, and they also got the deal done with Levon Johnson. I believe that was the deal that got done that Michael Lombardi screwed up at UNC, right?
Correct. He was supposed to. Yep.
Okay, so the whenever I look at the offensive line, he says quality. He told me quality over quantity. So that meant to me, we're not taking 5. Cody, I think they absolutely need to take 5.
Well, the way it looks right now, you almost are forced to, because depending on your expectations for guys like Jordan and Devin Coleman or Jackson Christian from last year, who was the highest rated of those guys, older than that group from last year on the interior offensive line is Nate Kibble and Nato Umuzalo. And Nato kind of found himself in the doghouse. What?
Do we even know if Nato's coming back?
That's what I'm saying. He kind of found himself in the doghouse last year, so we really don't know by the end of the week if Nato could potentially still be on the roster or not. So as far as anything older than a redshirt freshman or a true freshman at guard, it's literally Nate Kibble and then, Nick Brooks to a certain extent, depending on how you view him. I still looked at him long-term as a tackle, but it'd be malpractice not, unless they want to move a Jaden Chapman inside, or they have expectations of doing something like this. Like
Chapman's played both. Chapman's played in games at both guard and
but
tackle.
this is the University of Texas. You can't go in with we got 2 guys that can play right guard. We got 2 guys that can play left guard.
No,
you need bodies, dude.
And the thing
becoming a quantity. It's becoming a quantity thing rather than what he said to you, which was it needs quality.
It needs quality and quantity, because for one, dude, Connor Robertson walked at senior day. I don't care. I asked Stark about him too, and he said, well, we just do that for guys in case they want to walk. And look, I understand that he wouldn't be leaving to go play in the NFL. He would just be leaving to hang up the cleats and say, I'm done playing football. I've graduated college. I'm ready to move on with my life. People seem to think that that's completely out of the question for somebody to do. I don't think that that's out of the question for somebody to do. And when you look at the video of him and Michael Taft, the Westlake teammates, sitting on the field together, looking around, to me, that felt like an honest human moment of 2 dudes saying gosh, look at this. Let's soak it all in one last time. You know what I mean? It really did seem like that to me.
Can you give him $100,000 and be like, yo, I know you got a management degree, but here's $100,000. Come play one more year. Is he worth?
And we'll get you into the Macomb School of Business.
Yeah,
because I think that for your MBA, but I honestly think that he would be the starting center.
He has to be off the rip.
If you just look at it, what you look at now with no Connor Stroh, and it's embarrassing. I'm nothing against Stroh, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's an embarrassment, but it's very unlike a place like Texas, with the resources that Texas has and with the success it's had in recruiting and all that, to be looking down the barrel. Dude, they're looking down the barrel of a gun at offensive line right now.
Is it writing on the wall?
What
is it like writing on the wall that we should be seeing? And hear me out just for a second. Is it writing on the wall for them, for us looking at this depth chart being this is malpractice? And should we be seeing this as from a different perspective? Should we be seeing this as they know that there's going to be 4 dudes that go into the portal? Or should we look at it from a perspective of Kyle Flood might be taking an offensive coordinator job at X?
No, I don't think Kyle Flood wants that.
I'm just saying, but what I'm asking is that should we be looking at it from a different perspective? Because when you look at it from face value, It just looks like a complete failure.
Yeah. Well, to Cody, last year was like
A
last
complete
year
failure.
complete failure with their inability to address the offensive line. And I'm willing to look back and give them credit for it, give them some grace for it, because the team, they got things together down the stretch. The offense got better, but dude, the offense, I hate to say it, but if you're gonna pin a single bit of blame for the Florida loss that ruined Texas's chances at the postseason, you can really point at the offensive line. You know, like that, it lost them that football game. It could have lost them more. It could have lost them more. There were too many games that were too close for comfort. And whenever I look at this, when I look at this offensive line group, I think to myself, yes, of course they have to see this. But I thought that last year. The reason I'm willing to give them grace this year is because last year they were getting ready to play an SEC championship game. During the time going into the transfer portal window, they were focused on getting ready for the quarterfinal. The quarterfinal game, whatever it was. They had like two games between like they had one game around the 19th and one game around New Year's Eve or whatever. The portal opens right at the beginning of January. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They had irons in the fire that they were having to deal with that they thought might have been big. They don't have those irons in the fire right now. They're looking at the same thing we are, and they're saying, all right, so we have a left tackle. We're great. We're set. Trevor Gooseby, right? We're fine. He's all SEC first team. In case he sees he's first team all SEC and gets an agent talking in his ear and says, you can maybe go first round now or something, and he leaves. If that happens, we're in deep, deep trouble. So I guess at left guard, now that there's no Connor Stroh, it's terrible that you would even have to say this, but I was penciling in, at least to right now, pre-portal, Connor Stroh at left guard.
I think that was wrong though. It should be Nick Brooks, no?
Cody, at the very end of by the end of the season, as bad as Connor Stroh was, he was better than Nick Brooks.
But I think the theory would be that Nick Brooks, he lost like 30 pounds since he got on campus a year ago. It's like maybe he cuts another 10 pounds. He gets a little, another year, that would be and Stroh's been on campus for a year more than Brooks. So my theory would be that I would play the younger game. If you're even, you're leaving, right? If you're even, if Nick Brooks and Connor Stroh are even, I think that Nick Brooks would be leaving through, and by leaving, I mean like taking the step forward past him.
There've been since I've started doing the deep dig, there have been 90 offensive linemen at Texas that have played at least 100 snaps for Texas during that time. 9.
Dirty.
I'm not going to do him dirty, but as far as snaps per disruption allowed, Nick Brooks is number 90. He's at the very bottom of the list. And not only is he at the very bottom of the list, he allowed disruption once every 8 snaps. The next closest one is Tristan Nicholson and like Cameron Hughes and stuff like that. 12.7, 12.9. It was.
Can I ask a fair question though? How many of those guys are true freshmen? Outside of Kelvin Banks, like obviously that one's impressive. Connor Williams, like is there anybody past that was a true freshman that was on that list?
A true freshman past what?
Banks and Connor Williams. That had
Kelvin Banks was a true freshman. He was the third. He had the third best snaps per disruption allowed. Samuel Cosme is a redshirt freshman. Was number 16 on the list.
True freshman. Connor Williams.
Connor Williams. Kelvin Banks. Connor Williams was 27th out of 90. Hayden Connor as a true freshman. He only on 107 snaps, but he allowed disruption once every 30.6 snaps. He's number 37 out of 90. The next one would be, let's see, Patrick Vahe as a freshman in 51st place, allowing disruption once every 27 snaps. The next would be Zach Shackelford as a freshman, 74th place. DJ Campbell is a freshman, 77th place, but that's still at 18.4. He's still allowing disruption with less than half of the frequency. Cole Hudson is a true freshman at 17.4 snaps. So
that list of guys, like, can you?
It was a really, really bad deal. Okay, fine. So we're trying to justify Nick Brooks. He's going to probably slot, even though he's probably going to play. He should be playing. He's
Should be a
playing
right
tackle,
tackle or left tackle. Yeah.
but we have to slot him in at left guard. Connor Robertson, we don't know if he's coming back. He had the starry-eyed cry goodbye with his buddy Michael Taft. You have it right guard, just an unenviable choice between like Jackson Christian and Nate Kibble. Nate Kibble that played all of like 26 snaps last season and allowed 1 pressure and 1 run stuff. Jackson Christian, neither hide nor hair. Haven't ever seen him play. And then right tackle, you got Brandon Baker. And then here's the thing is behind those guys, it's like, is Nato Yamuzulo coming back? I don't know if he is. Is Andre Kojo he's going to have to be your swing tackle. Is he going to be healthy for spring ball? I mean,
yeah. Is he like,
they need like 6.
What did Kojo weigh? Kojo was 335, and he had surgery, so he probably lost a little bit of weight. I was thinking like a perspective of like, can he play right guard maybe?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Look, over under Cody in this portal window. Do they have the money and take money into consideration? Right, over or under 4.5 offensive linemen.
I think you have to add a center. You have to add a left guard. You have to add a right guard. I think you have to add a versatile piece. You'd of course love all 3 of those guys to be versatile in themselves, but I think you have to at least get a guy that can do each thing. At least one guy that's versatile on the inside, and it probably wouldn't hurt to just get one more guy that can do something, whether it's like, hey, this guy can play right and left tackle, or this guy can play right guard and right tackle, something like this. I think you have to get 5. And I don't even think the 6th thing is out of the question when you bring up the thought process that, there could be a no Nato and a no Connor Robertson. If there's no Nato and there's no Connor Robertson, you're looking at your roster right now. You look at your scholarship board. That thing is
I'll tell
nearly naked.
You're asking yourself, how on earth did we get here at the University of Texas?